Hey everyone, this is Kathy from K.Dill Handmade, and I wanted to welcome you to the video tutorial for the all bottled up crossbody bag from K.Azcona Designs. Now this pattern I am making up as part of the Marathon Sewciety's Halloween Sewing Marathon. This is the second week, so this video is premiering on October 14th, and I am going to be making this bag. And so as part of the sewing marathon, there are over a dozen sewists who will be creating different Halloween themed makes throughout the day. So please support the other pattern designers and the other makers. And I will link to all of their channels on the video description. So the all bottled up bag is a really cute, really fun 3D style bag. As you can see here, it has a gusset in the middle so it stands up. And it's a really fun, unique design. So let's go ahead and go over the pieces that we're going to need to make this bag, and then we'll get started with putting it together. Okay, so you are going to need your main panels, and I am doing this version here. I have this panel that I printed out, or that I made on my embroidery machine, that's going to be the label for the front of my bag, and then this will be the back side. I'm also going to be adding a label, and this label is from Heartwood and Hide. They graciously donated these labels for the sewing marathon, so I'm going to be putting that on this side, on this panel, which will be the back of the bag. So I have those. And then you're going to have your main interior. So you have two of those. And so how that will be is when you have your main outer and then your main interior, and then so this will be kind of the inside of the bottle, and then you'll have your gusset in the bag in the middle there. So you'll have two of those. You will also have your zipper panel, and you're going to need two exterior and two lining of those. And then you will have your lining pieces. You will have two of those as well. And so that will be the inside of your bag. You also have your bottom gusset. So there's an exterior and a lining for the bottom gusset. You will have the stopper applique. So that is this top piece here. And that's like your cork stopper on your bottle. So that is going to go on your main outer pieces. It's going to be attached there and look like it's a cork stopper going into your bottle. You will have two of those. And then you will have stabilizers. So this is, I'm using Peltex. These are my main stabilizer pieces, and that is just going to give that extra firm support to my outer panels so that the bag should be able to stand up on its own. And then you have the D-ring connector. So that will be one on each side. I have two of those. And then hardware, as far as hardware goes, you'll need a zipper, and the measurement is provided in the pattern instructions. You have a zipper pull. You have two D-rings, and then I'm going to be using a pre-made chain strap for this bag. So I'm going to be using this strap instead of a webbing strap or a handmade strap for the bag. Okay, so now that we got everything started, or we've gone over everything as far as pieces and hardware, let's go ahead and get started on our main outer panels. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our main panels prepared. So I have my two main bottle panels. Then I have this label that I'm going to put on the front of the one side. I have my label that I'm going to put at the bottom on the other side. And then I have my 2 cork stoppers. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let's just work on this one first. I've already put some double-sided tape on the back. So I'm just going to be removing the paper backing. And then I'm going to center this panel over the bottle, right where I want it to be. And this double-sided tape should help hold it down enough so that I can take it then over to the sewing machine and stitch it on. So I want it to be pretty centered. I'm going to just gently hold that. Make sure it's a little bit over. Nope, that was a little bit too much that way. Okay, so that looks just about right, just where I want it. So I'm just going to give that a little press. That double-sided tape should hold it in place. And then I'm going to take one of my cork toppers and I'm going to attach some double-sided tape to the back of that as well. And I'm just going to put a couple strips here in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to line it up here at the top. Okay, so that's the top of my cork label there. And then on this one, same thing, I'm going to line up the cork with the top of the bag. Okay, and then my label at the bottom here. And I'm going to center that in the bottom of this panel. Okay. All right, so now that all of these are attached with double-sided tape, I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and I'm going to top stitch following this outside edge of the label. Top stitch just along this bottom curved edge right here. Same on this one. Top stitch just along the bottom curved edge. And then I will also attach this label. Okay, so I have those stitched on and I have left long tails so that I can pull the threads through to the back. So as you can see on this one, you aren't able to see where the stitch, there's no back stitching, so they're just tied off in the back. And so I'll show you how I do that on this one. So you're just going to flip it over and then you're going to pull the back string. And as you pull the back string, you should see there's a little tiny loop that comes through. You're just going to gently pull that. And so that just pulled the string from the front through to the back. So now I'm just going to tie it off a couple times. Snip it. And then repeat for all of the other strings. Okay, so there's the label attached. and the cork top. And same for this one. All the labels are attached. Okay, the next thing we're going to work on are the D-ring connectors. So grabbing both of your D-ring connector pieces, you're going to draw a line down the center of each one, and then using double-sided tape, just going to put it along the outside edge. And then we're going to remove the paper backing and press this up to that center line. And same for the other side. So this side we're just pressing up to that center line, meeting the other side of the D-ring strip. So it looks something like that. Okay, so you're just going to give that a finger press. We're going to do the same thing to the other one. Okay, and then once you have both of your straps folded in, we're going to take them to the sewing machine, and you're going to just top stitch down each long edge of each strap. Okay, so once that is top stitched, you're going to take your D-ring, you're going to slide it through the center of the D-ring, folding it over in half, matching up these raw edges, and then you're just going to top stitch right along this raw edge. So it will look like this. You'll just be top stitching right along this raw edge. And then once you get that done, both of your D-ring tabs will be done, and we can set those to the side. Okay, moving on to the gusset construction. So there are measurements provided in the pattern for where you will mark the in from each short edge. You're going to make a mark on each of the outer zippers and the zipper gussets, and then on the linings you're going to do it on the right side, and then same measurement on the wrong side. So you're going to do that on both pieces. Okay, and then taking your zipper, your outer zipper gussets, we're going to take a piece of double-sided tape, and between those marks we're going to add double-sided tape. And then removing the paper backing, we're going to take our zipper, laying it face down. We're going to lay it right on top of that. So that is all lined up. Zipper, gusset is right side up, zipper is right side down, so teeth side down, and you're connecting it, you're attaching it right here on the top with the double-sided tape. Now taking one of our lining zipper gussets, we're going to be, again, attaching a piece of double-sided tape along this long edge right between the two marks that we made. Removing that paper backing, we're going to flip it over and sandwich the zipper in the middle. Okay, so what you have here is a little zipper sandwich. So you have your outer, your zipper, and your lining, and then on each side you have that measurement where there is no zipper, where there is no double-sided tape. Okay, once you get that done, you're going to take it over to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch according to the seam allowance provided in the pattern just between these marked lines. So you're not stitching these ends. You're going to start here, stitch all the way down, and stop at this other marked end. Okay, once that is stitched, again, you're making sure that you're leaving this end open here. Now we're going to press the lining and the outer away from the zipper. And we're going to clip it in place along this long edge. Okay, once that is clipped in place, we are going to repeat those steps with the other gusset strips, attaching it to the other side of the zipper. So taking double-sided tape, placing it between those marks, we're going to flip it over, and with the other side of your zipper, you're just going to line up that top edge. And then again, another piece of double-sided tape between the marks on your lining. Okay, we're going to take it to the machine. We're going to stitch again between these two marked lines. Then I'm going to press both of these away again, just like I did on this side, and clip them in place. Okay, once you get that clipped in place, we need to install the zipper pull. Very important. Do not forget to install the zipper pull before the next step. So I'm just going to use this little zipper jig that I have here. Try to get it lined up if possible. There we go. All right, zipper is installed. Now we want to take our two D-rings, our D-ring tabs that we made earlier, and we are going to attach them centered over the zipper, one on each side. And you want it to overhang about 1 inch. So when you get that measurement, just go ahead and clip it in place. You want to make sure your D-rings are facing towards the center of your gusset. Just going to keep mine centered as possible. Here, it needs to move over a little bit. Okay, and then we're just going to baste it in place right here along each short edge. Okay, once you have that basted in place along each side, we are going to attach the bottom half of the gusset. So taking your bottom gusset, you're going to lay it down, flip your zipper panel over so they are right sides facing. And what we're going to do is we are only going to clip in place just the outer panels. So I'm just moving my clips over. I want to make sure my D-ring is out of the way. And then to keep your lining out of the way so that you don't accidentally get it caught in this step, you can clip the ends together. And then we are just clipping the outer panels together. Just to hold that in place. We're going to line up the other side as well. So that is going to give us a little bit of a bow in the bottom gusset, and that is exactly what we want. Okay, I'm just going to move this over so that the bow is a little bit more towards the center. Okay, and again, keeping these out of the way, keeping your lining panels clipped out of the way. So what you have is something like this. So this is your outer, clipped at this end, clipped at this end, with your lining panels clipped in the center out of the way. Okay, once you get these clipped out of the way, you want to make sure that your lining is out of the way. We are going to stitch down just the outer pieces here. So keeping your lining out of the way, we're going to stitch down according to the seam allowance provided in the pattern instructions on both sides, keeping your lining back out of the way of the zipper, stitch straight across both of these edges, outer pieces only. Okay, once you get your outer pieces stitched together, you're going to trim your strings. And then we're going to flip it over and we're going to do the same thing with the lining panels. So unclipping all of this. Now we're going to take our gusset. You can unfold that. We're going to take our lining gusset and do the same thing. So laying it right sides down, clipping only the lining together. Again, keeping your exterior out of the way. And again on this side. Okay. And then I'm just going to do a couple clips down the side here, just to help hold it in place. I want to make sure everything stays nice and straight. Okay, so once you have that clipped, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sewing through only the lining layers, and we're going to be sewing only up to where the D-ring connector is. So this to the center, this side to the center. If you can imagine on this side, you can see where the D-ring connector is. You're basically sewing to there, leaving that gap, and then sewing to there. So you will have this gap in the middle that will not be sewn. Same thing on this side, only sewing your lining layers, sewing to about right there and right there, leaving that gap in the center. Okay, once you get your linings sewn together, you will have that gap there in the center. We are going to unclip everything. And then we're going to turn it through so that it will be right sides out. And then making sure everything is lined up nicely, we're going to just finger press those seams, and we're going to clip the outer and the lining together. We're going to do that all the way around. So I will line up my side seams first. Clip those in place. And then I will clip the rest of the way around both sides. So you want to take extra caution when you're clipping around the zipper side. Okay, and I'm not too worried about this little gap here just yet because we are only going to be working with the zipper portion. So once you get that all clipped around, you're going to take it to your sewing machine. You're going to stitch across all the way along this folded edge, back across this D-ring, and then all the way back down. So you're just making this box around the outside here, up all the way around the bottom. Again, that's going to close that hole that we had left while we were sewing the gussets together. So that's why we're sewing across there, and then around, starting where you stopped. Okay, once you get that stitched all the way around, you have that box all the way around, you're going to mark a dot below each D-ring, and this is where you're going to install a rivet. So that rivet is going to go through that D-ring tab that is hanging down below underneath. That's going to help give it a little extra strength and support, and it'll be a nice little design feature as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach the rivets to both spots, and then I'll be back for the next step. Okay, rivets are attached. Now I'm going to unclip the gusset, and we are ready to move on to the interior assembly. Okay, so grabbing one of our interior panels, and then you're going to line it up right sides down, or right sides together. Okay, so to do that, we need to mark the centers. So grabbing the pattern piece, I'm just going to make a little mark here using the lines provided in the pattern. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the gusset. So I got to find where the top center is. So right where that fold is, I'm going to make a little snip, just the tiniest of snips. So you can see I just made a tiny little snip right in that center. Again, lining up these center marks, coming down here with the lining, finding the center here. And again, I can make a little snip this way, or I can also snip the corner. And then that's where I know that one is. Then taking the two snips I made here, coming out to the side, I can see the corner is right there, or the center I should say is right there just below the gusset. So I made a little snip there, and again just making sure everything is lined up, coming over to this side, right there. Okay, so now that I have everything marked, I am able to take my center marks on the lining panel and match them up with the little notches that I made in the gussets. So first I'm going to take the top and the bottom, clip those in place. And then the sides. Clip those in place. Right there. A little snip right there. Okay, and then once I get that done, then I can clip the rest of the way around. Okay, so once you get that clipped around, you should only have your lining clipped and not any of your exterior panels. Okay, now we're going to take it to the sewing machine. We're going to put this face down. So keeping our gusset, our outer gusset out of the way, we're going to stitch the lining panels together according to the seam allowance provided in the pattern instruction. And so you'll probably have to go slow and just remember to make sure you pull that lining or the outer out of the way so you're only stitching through the lining as you go around. Okay, so I'll take that over to the sewing machine and then I'll be back to do the other side. Okay, so that is stitched all the way around. I can fold my outer back over. So it's starting to look like this on the inside. Get my little strings out of the way. Okay, now we got to do the same thing to the other side. So again, we're going to find the centers, and you can do the marks using the paper pattern, or I'm just going to make little snips like so in the center there, and then the center here. And then again, finding the center of the bottom gusset. And then the lining, the top of the lining is right there. This part is a little tricky. Okay, and then matching up your top and bottom snips. You can work to the side and find the side snips, or the side center mark. And it is a little tricky because of that gusset. The zipper gusset is very narrow, so it doesn't give you a whole lot of room to work with, but it should be enough to find the center anyway. Okay. All right, and then once I have all the centers marked, I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side that I did on the other side. So matching up the center marks first. Okay, so I'm going to finish clipping this all the way around, and then I'm going to sew it just as I did this side. I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and sew it according to the seam allowance in the pattern instructions, and then I will be back to show you the next step. Okay, so once both sides are stitched together, what you will have is your little pocket here. And now we are ready to attach the main interior pieces. to the bag body. So these are going to end up going like this, like that. So what we need to do is we need to mark where they are going to be connecting. Okay, so using your pattern piece, and I'm actually going to flip mine over to the back side, and I have a chalk pen. I'm going to trace around this opening. Make sure the pattern piece is all lined up. So my bag is straight. I'm going to trace around this opening. Okay, and then we need to cut the center out. So I'm going to use my rotary cutter to make sure my sides are straight. And same for the top and bottom. Okay, and then using my scissors, I'm going to come in and trim the corners. Okay, so once I have the center cut out, now I need to transfer these center marks. I'm going to transfer them to the back side. So this is just the center mark, top and bottom, left and right, and then this is going to be our guide for where we attach our gusset. Okay, so we have those 4 marks there, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we'll put the other bottle piece to the side for now. Now on the gusset, we need to find, I'm going to keep my lining out of the way. We need to find the top and bottom. Again, I'm going to make just the tiniest of snips so that I can see where the center is. Same thing on the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to do it to both sides because, right, we have 2 sides of the bottle to do. Little tiny snip there. Making sure everything stays nice and centered, even, and there. Okay, so now that we have that, we have to line up our pieces. So let's see, let's do this side. So we're going to take, now you want your pieces right sides together and right sides together. So right where that mark is, and that center line, I'm going to clip in place right there. Keeping the lining out of the way, I'm going to come around to the other side. That's where my snip is. That's where my line is. I'm going to add a few clips there on either side. And on the side, just clip it in place along the side, and it should match up pretty exactly. You shouldn't have too much to play with. Okay, once that is clipped in place, we are going to take it to the sewing machine. We are going to we want this piece against the table, against the sewing machine. So we're going to put it down like this against our sewing machine, and we're going to stitch all the way around this whole seam according to the seam allowance provided in the pattern instructions. And that will then attach this panel to our gusset. Okay, so I'm gonna go take it to the sewing machine, stitch all the way around, and I'll be back. Okay, with that side attached, now we need to do the same thing to the other side. So again, we're just gonna clip it around, lining up the sides, the centers first. Okay, I'm going to finish clipping it all the way around, take it to the sewing machine, sew this other side on, and then we will be ready to attach the outer panels. Okay, now that we have both sides attached, what we need to do is attach our main outer panels. So I have already attached the interfacing. This is the Peltex that I'm using to give this nice firm stabilizer here. So I'm going to take the panels and I'm going to line them up and clip them around. Now they might not line up exactly, and that's okay, because I can always trim them in the final step, and I'll probably trim them anyway, because I want them to lay nice and flat and have nice even edges. You know, it could be a little bit off anyway because of your seam allowance. If one spot had a little bit bigger seam allowance, one spot had a little smaller seam allowance. So it's not a big deal if it's off. Like I said, you can just trim it at the end. I have a little fold here, so I'm just going to, I think mine was off, so I'm just going to make a little executive decision and make a little fold right there. I don't think anybody's going to see it because it'll be on the inside of the bag, but it'll help the rest of my bag to lay nicely if I do that. Okay, and as you can see, the bottom of my bag is a little bit shorter, and most likely that is from my seam allowance. So my seam allowance was probably bigger when I was making the lining. So I will just got another little fold here. So I would just adjust that. I will trim that. Oops, this one came loose here. I will trim that in the final, you know, once I get it all done. Okay, so now that this is done, we are going to take this to the sewing machine. We are going to stitch all the way around, keeping this part out of the way. And I've got some little folds here I need to adjust before I sew mine down. But we're going to stitch all the way around following that line, and then we will repeat the same thing for the other side of the bag. So this is what the outside of the bag is going to look like. Then you're going to have the gusset, and then you'll have the front of the bag. Okay, so I'm going to take mine over to the sewing machine, sew this down, make the little adjustments that I need to, and then I'll be back to do the other side. Okay, there's that side all stitched on. Now we need to do the same thing to the other side. So lining that up. Again, I'm going to start with lining up the top. Okay, so I'm going to finish clipping this around just like I did this side. I'm going to clip it all the way around, sew it down, do any little trimming that there is, and then I'll be back to show you the finished bag, and we are just about done. Okay, there it is, all attached, gusset, the back. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so fun. It's so cute. It'll be so perfect for Halloween. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to probably edge paint this so that it blends in a little bit more and doesn't quite stand out as much. And then I have the chain strap here. Just going to attach it to the sides. There we go. And then we got the center zipper pocket there. It's so cute, you guys. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. Kim is amazing. Her skill level at making 3D bags in different shapes is next level. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Okay, so guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video tutorial, this sew along. So if you enjoyed it, please give my video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And I did want to say that when I aligned the other panel, that it did line up much better than the bottom one. So I think it was just my seam allowance on this bottom one that gave me those couple little folds there, because the other side lined up perfectly. And I wanted to say thank you to Kim from K.Azcona Designs for making this pattern available for this sewing marathon. And I will link in the description notes as to where you could find this pattern if you wanted to make your own. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for participating. Thank you for sticking with me to the end of the video. And I hope you have fun with your spooky sewing.